Yo, what's good? So I just watched this Colin Kaepernick black and white doc on Netflix, and I ain't even gonna hold you, Chief. I got through the first four episodes. It's 6 episodes of a miniseries, and if that takes away my credibility from this review, oh well. But I just couldn't get through it after the first four and a half. This looked like something that what's that guy who produces Blackish? This looked like something that like a Blackish kind of show, like a spinoff or Everybody Hates Chris. It gave me those vibes. But Chris Rock, he's a comedian, so it made sense that they went the satire comedy route. They produced it. Robert Townsend produced this, the comedian. Same, he produced Eddie Murphy Raw, so he helped write a couple skit jokes. Well, not produced it, but you know what I mean. He's on the credits. I said, "Oh, they made a comedy out of this." I'm like, "Okay, drop the ball. I love a good comedy. I love to laugh, but you dropped the ball. You're supposed to be a lot of people are looking a lot of people take you serious. A lot of people really have invested in you, took in your movement serious, stopped watching football, bought your jerseys, yada yada yada. And they're waiting for you to say something. You've been quiet. Dez asked what's going on, and remember Jamel Hill vilified him and said, "Well, he's got a production company." Yada, yada, yada. Well, this is what he did with the production company. They put out this, and they dropped the ball on this. To me, they could have came. The approach was real silly, and they could have went harder than this. But it's basically like his bio life, his story from him being a teenager playing football in high school up until his NFL days. And I didn't watch the last two episodes. Um, but yeah, you know the story. Grew up in a white household, adopted parents, and was disconnected completely from black culture and doesn't really understand black culture. And then when Allen Iverson is popping when he's a teenager, he's like, "Yeah, I got to get cornrows like Allen Iverson." And the difference was a lot of black kids wanted cornrows because of Allen Iverson, but that's just because he was Allen Iverson. He wanted to get it because he wanted black acceptance on top of that. And they showed the experience, his mother and father, two white actors I've seen in plenty of comedies. As a matter of fact, the woman playing his mother, she plays the lead role in that TV show Weeds that used to come on. And that was another. I'm like, bro, I can't even take this serious, bro. Like, if Jim Brown had the production money to do his own bio back in the '60s when he stopped playing, do you think he would have took the comedy route? Like, I don't get that. And okay, like his mom takes him to a black place to get his hair braided, and he's just amazed at the black culture that he's seeing. Girls with big earrings, fat asses, dudes with all the nice clothes and the music, and he's just fascinated by it because he's been sheltered from black culture up until he's like 15, 16. And when you tell people this and you say, "Yo, he kind of grew up similar to Obama in a white household. He really didn't have the typical black experience," people get upset, but it's the truth. Now, I will give him credit for exploiting his truth and not being and telling it how it is, because that is how he grew up. But to me, when I look at him, I see somebody who is compromised, not only because he's biracial, but because he. It took him how many years to get black acceptance? It really wasn't until he took a knee. You got people who grew up with him and went to high school with him that have been on record that said they didn't even know he was biracial. They didn't know he was black. They thought he was Middle Eastern. Real shit. Like, people thought he was Middle Eastern and half white. So, he's been looking for that. Sage Still, a lot of these people, a lot of biracial people, I'm not saying all of them, don't get, butt hurt, but a lot of them who tend to grow up on one side of the fence, they naturally crave that acceptance from either black folks or white folks. For him, he grew up in a white sheltered home, so he was always looking for black acceptance. And to me, I think he's still trying to learn who he is, and he's still trying to really learn black culture. And I don't see how you could be a leader of black people when you're still trying to learn by the play by play, ear by ear. Remember, it wasn't until he got with this Vanessa girl until he really started even doing this and took a knee. And she's half Arabian, So like right now in America, they're manufacturing our leaders, and they're taking people who aren't even really culturally black, people like Kamala Harris and so on and so on, and putting them in important positions to be our leaders. And like I say, they're telling us who should lead us. You got the Jamel Hills of the world and all of these people, Don Lemon and them people, leaders who are natural born leaders. People organically gravitate to them. Fred Hampton was 21 when he did all that shit in Chicago back in the day. He knew who he was. He wasn't compromised. He was black and proud, and people organically flocked to that young man. This is not. This is manufactured, bro. And when you tell people, a lot of people to take it out of context, and it's like, what do you mean is man? This is manufactured. Now, the preview that I seen, and I know a lot of people seen when he compared the NFL Combine to slavery, I was like, okay, you got some points, but here's some reasons why you play devil's advocate or whatever. First of all, slave auctions were not optional. It was mandatory. You had no choice. They cut the skin off your back. Second of all, the NFL Combine is optional. Guys only go because you want to make sure you get drafted to a good team. You want to get drafted to the right system. You're trying to impress the people, the scouts and guys like that. You don't have to do it. And even so, he made over $40 million in the NFL, not including the lawsuit money that he got back. So I'm like, how do you can't compare something to slavery when you made money off of it, especially millions. It's not like when people complain about their job that they barely get money on. Have you made 40 million off of your job? I haven't. And we know they blackballed him. That's a fact. We know that they hijacked the protest, made it about the military. Now they don't even show, if you've noticed, they don't even show the national anthem when you watch football games anymore. The NFL cut that out. But to compare it to slavery, I was just like, all right, y'all kind of reaching. And then they did another reach where he was talking about acceptable Negroes, and he compared Steve Urkel to an acceptable Negro. I'm like, hold up, Steve Urkel was a nerd. Like, Steve Urkel wasn't even a part of the family, ironically, Family Matters, but he was the most popular person on the show. Everyone knows a Steve Urkel, white, black, Chinese, whatever. That had nothing to do with race. Laura, it wasn't, the reason Steve Urkel couldn't get Laura had nothing to do with him being a cornball or an acceptable Negro. He was lame. He was a nerd. Now he brought up Carlton and said that Carlton Banks was an acceptable Negro. Yeah, and then no. Remember that episode when Will and Carlton got caught riding around in Uncle Phil's Benz in the middle of the night, and he had his nigga moment, and he realized even on the surface, you're still black? No matter how hard, no matter how you talk, what school you went to, who your father is, that was Carlton's moment. So I don't even get, like it was just a lot of reaching in this doc, bro. I mean, the way that they filmed it, you got Colin out there with the fro looking like Don Cornelius. I'm like, so he grew a fro out. It's almost like it's a mockery of black culture, So because you grow out a fro and you date a girl who's an activist. Now I'm supposed to believe that you Marcus Garvey or something. I'm like, man. And like I say, athletes today are too compromised to do the things that Ali did, Jim Brown, FloJo. They're too, because first of all, they make too much money. Not that I'm counting pockets, but it's hard to be a leader of people when you got you in bed with corporate America. I mean, hell, LeBron could never do what Jim Brown did. That boy been on magazine covers since he was 17. You knee deep in them sheets. You know what I'm saying? So you can't, you're already compromised as it is. And I feel like he took that knee to make a statement. I don't think he knew this was going to get as big as it got. And then black people put that title on him as the next leader. And now he feels the pressure to kind of live up to it. And now he has to live up to it. And he has a lot of people that he would let down if he was to stop. So now he's got to, when you look him up on Wikipedia, they got American activists on there. He's got to go 100% with this now. And I don't think he necessarily wanted to be a leader. Like I say, he's compromised. On top of that, he's still trying to learn. I think he's still trying to learn about black culture and trying to really master it. I can't ask a person like that to lead black folks, but this is one of the people that they've selected for you, And a lot of black people still rock with Kaepernick. And, I've been critical of the NFL also, but to me, they just dropped the ball on this. They could have did better than this. He could have took a more serious approach, and the dialogue was corny. I just didn't, it was just too much, man. It was too much. I was let down. Because I was thinking, okay, this might be something. Because like I say, when Des Bryant asked a simple question, Jamel Hill snapped at him in a second. Like she was on standby, like a security guard. Like, no, let me throw you out the club right now. He's got a production company and they're doing this and that. I hope they produce something better than this coming up. Because this was a joke. This had Everybody Hates Chris vibes. This had, you ever see The Rock show on NBC? Him and his family and growing up around wrestling. This was a comedic type of presentation, and I think he dropped the ball on it big time. I could be wrong. I could be overreacting. Like I say, I could be misinformed because I didn't watch but 4 episodes. But let me know what y'all think. Maybe I'm tripping, you know. But I just, nah, it wasn't for me at all. It just was out of place and all over the place, honestly. And like I say, his mother, I mean, at one point, they got his mother, she goes to her coworkers who she doesn't talk to, who are black. This is how segregated his family was, I guess, when it came to black people. And she puts a picture up of Allen Iverson in a magazine that says, do you guys know where I can get my son to get his hair like this? It was just cringe. Like, oh my God. He gets pulled over by a cop for the first time he's driving with his parents in the car. There was one scene where his dad and his mother told him he needs to cut his hair before he goes to college or whatever because he looks like a thug. It just was a lot of forced dialogue in this. It was just like, nah, I just couldn't relate to it. Maybe I'm just not, I never been in them shoes. So I wouldn't know what it's like necessarily being black in a white household, but I just couldn't get into it. But maybe one of y'all did. Let me know if y'all liked it in the comment section respectfully. I know somebody gonna get mad, but it is what it is.